Okay, we got USA outgrows China because of Florida from Economics Explained. Okay, so this is kind of like relevant to me. I live in Florida, so it don't feel honestly to me, it doesn't feel like Florida is growing at a crazy rate. It just doesn't.
For the first time in over 3 decades, the economy of the USA is growing faster than the economy of China, casting
Oh my god. Wait, for the first time in 3 decades.
doubts over the assumption that eventually China will overtake the current global leader. This strong growth in what is already the largest and most diverse economy in the world is particularly remarkable.
The ultimate 2023 census buster. US grows faster than China. Question mark. All of the economic market curveballs investors have had to bat away this year. Few will be as unexpected as the US economy growing faster than China's. Hmm. I wonder why that is. I really don't know. Truly.
When it's considered that a large share of other advanced economies around the world have been more or less stagnant for more than a decade. But zoom in and get a
Wait. There seems to be some shenanigans going on. They're just. Mm, why is everybody else kind of stagnant? But here come big ol' US and China getting up there. Something with the exponential growth does not smell copacetic.
world have been more or less stagnant for more than a decade. But zoom in and get a closer look, and even within the USA, the story is much the same. A majority, almost 2/3 of US states, are not growing as fast as the US.
Hmm. GDP growth by state 2022. Okay, what we got? Oh, negative growth is the light. Positive growth is like dark blue, light green. Okay. Oh, what the fuck? Look at this. A lot of growth right there, a lot of growth right there. Um I really bet this right here, this is because of all these goddamn hurricanes. Like literally chipping away at all these fucking states. And everybody is sick and tired of all the hurricanes. They want to move in like inland, away from everybody. Nobody gives a shit about beaches. Okay? They just want to sit in their home and not have to worry about fucking like umpteen zillion hurricanes coming around every October. And I mean, yeah, there was that one that like kind of made its way in there, but honestly, guys, like by the time a hurricane like makes it to landfall, um, and it makes it like way past like a couple hundred miles or whatever, like about right here, like the hurricane dies down significantly. So like if you look at like the old hurricane paths, like yes, all the spaghetti charts will be like, okay, this was the hurricane path, but and like right here and right there and all this other shit. But like the hurricanes died down a lot. Um, but I would imagine all these states. I would imagine there's so much growth here because everybody in here is just like fuck this, and we're just like going up over here. Everything up here is like 1-2% growth. Everyone's not really moving. And this is like crazy. Like, what's the reasoning behind the negative growth? Negative, negative, negative. I have no idea where Tornado Alley is. Isn't it like this dude right here or something? I got no idea. And then, oh, big surprise, Alaska, -3% growth. Okay.
USA itself. What this means is that just a handful of areas are doing a lot of the heavy lifting to prop up the world's biggest economy, and it's not just
Oh, a handful of areas are doing most of the heavy lifting. Which begs the question, why are we using the system of GDP? If a very select few are contributing so much to the overall statistic that is GDP. Like, why are we using this? Is it good? Is it bad? Like, can we not re-examine this and like do like a patch to this type of system? Is this like not allowed?
Just in outright economic growth figures either, which is where we get to Florida. Florida is home to the fourth largest economy within the USA, having
Holy shit, really? I knew California was like damn near its own country. But okay, Texas, New York, Florida, number 4. God dang. Okay. Which is what is California? This is like 2 or 3 Floridas. Holy. That's crazy.
roughly the same economic output as Mexico, Indonesia, or Spain. Impressive considering it's just one of 50 states that make up the Union, but Florida has attracted the attention of a lot of economists for a reason other than just its sheer size.
It is literally the Wild West in Florida. Why do you think the meme Florida Man exists? Because the craziest news articles you will ever read, most of them come from Florida.
Florida is growing much faster than the other major states that round out the top 4, California, New York, and even Texas, and it's doing it in ways and with industries that haven't typically been associated with the region's vibrant history. It's also gaining a lot of attention because that success may or may not be a net benefit to the US.
The Economist, what America can learn from Florida's boom.
As a whole, and to find out why, we must as always answer a few simple questions. What is driving Florida's rapid growth today?
Yeah.
What are the potential problems?
I mean, it damn sure isn't the hurricanes
Caused by these growth areas? And finally, is this above average growth really sustainable? Once we have done all of that, we can put
Probably
Florida,
not.
the 4th largest economy within the USA, on the Economics Explained leaderboard to see how it stacks up against other US states and entire national economies. For an economy to function well, it requires a lot of communication, but this starts to take up a lot of workers' time, and if their writing is misunderstood, it can slow down an entire organisation or cost a business a lot of money. That's why I make my whole team use the sponsor of this video, Grammarly. I have enough work to do without my channel manager sending me mini essays to read 4 times a day. Getting him to use Grammarly's Ideate feature to reformat what he's saying concisely might have saved me up to 1 million hours of reading per month. Their AI feature helps my team communicate more effectively and quickly, and without compromising the privacy of our work, which is incredibly important in almost any business. I'm so glad that Grammarly takes privacy seriously, and your work product and data has never and will never be sold to third parties.
Wait, was that just... Is this just smart people Discord? Or no, this is like a regular email type of deal. Okay, whatever.
Third parties. With our quicker back and forth communication, we can produce more videos and get more content out for you, and are also able to quickly create outlines for every kind of task, from writing a script outline or a description for a video. I know all of you writers hate facing that blank page as much as I do. Using Grammarly's extension to write polite replies for me has also saved me tons of time on my absolute least favourite task, writing polite emails. And all of these AI features are free. Just sign up using my link at grammarly.com/EE02 and download Grammarly for free and start saving time on all of your writing today. I want to start this video off
If I wrote emails, I would use Grammarly 100%.
a little bit differently with something of a personal anecdote, which I promise is highly relevant to the economic situation of Florida. Back when I was at university doing my undergrad, I had a part-time job managing a shop where the regional boss pushed me and all of the other stores to make as many sales as possible.
Yep,
Of
sell,
course,
sell, sell. ABC, always be selling.
that's nothing unusual, but one day, for whatever reason, my particular shop was allowed to put on a big store-wide discount for everything for one day only. To make the most of this and to keep our big boss happy, we called all of our regular customers to let them know about this in advance so that we could make as much money as possible on the day. Unfortunately, I actually got into a lot of trouble for doing this because all that really happened was that people did all of the shopping they were going to do at a discount in our store instead of shopping like they normally would at all of the stores in the area, which made us look good at the expense of the company as a whole. Now, don't feel too bad, my PTSD from working retail is mostly past, but the point is, on a much larger scale, Florida
Does PTSD from working retail ever really pass?
might be doing the exact same thing and growing its economy at the expense of other states that make up the USA. The economy of a state as it exists today really got started as something of a tourist destination for people to travel to from colder regions on the east coast of the USA. While technically the region that went on to become the state was home to the first western city on the North American continent, it developed far slower than regions to the north, in large part because of its terrible geography.
Oh, yeah. This is horrible. I hate living in Florida, dude. A peninsula? Are you kidding me? Water is surrounding you on three sides? Bro, in like 500 years, the entirety of Florida is going to be like underwater or some shit like that. Maybe like a couple thousand years. I don't know. But, I mean, yeah, it's great when it's like winter. It's great when it's spring. Other than that, when it's summer and fall, it's just fucking hot, dude. It is unbearably fucking hot. It's terrible. Like nobody really wants to go outside in like 100+ degree weather. Like maybe you do if like you're made of money and you can just chill at the beach all day, but like normal people do not want to touch outside whenever it's that hot, when the temperature goes to 3 digits. Are you kidding me? Most of the time, like 90 something's hot as fuck. It's just hot.
Even today, the state is full of swamps, mosquitoes, natural storms, and otherwise.
Yeah, the swamps. Yeah, you think of Florida and it's like, oh, beaches and sand, and yeah, there's like a couple places, but a lot of the times, um, it's just swamp, dude. And plus, on top of it, Florida, the state itself is just very porous. There's a lot of lime rock in Florida. That's why there's so many sinkholes at just random points in the road. You can look up at like anywhere, any sort of what do you call it, like geological assessment of Florida, and those maps will be like, yeah, there's a shit ton of what was it called, like the Florida Aquifer, of all these like winding, spiraling paths of water and limestone and lime rock underneath Florida. Yeah, it's just porous as fuck in Florida.
Rain. So for most of its early history as its own state, it was just a place where people went on holidays, and even that was limited. This changed as railroads were built into the area, connecting its inland regions directly with major industrial and population centres in the north, which not only opened up the area to even more tourism, it started to make things like farming and even light industry possible. Today, these early industries still make up a significant portion of the state.
Oh, what is this? Florida GDP growth by industry in billions, chained 2017 US dollars. Mining and quarrying, oil, gas extraction, not even 1%. Agriculture, utilities. What's at the bottom? Finance, insurance, real estate, rental, and leasing. If this doesn't say tourist, I don't know what does, dude. Insurance, home insurance for your hurricanes, flooding, natural disaster. If the insurance even wants to cover that shit, most of the time they don't. Real estate. Oh yeah, come build an Airbnb down here and just hang out for your little tourist trip, and then just go fuck off back to whatever state that's not Florida. Real estate rental. Yep. Wait, rental. Why is there a comma here and not there? Like real estate rental, or the fuck is rental? I don't know. And leasing. Okay. Yeah. If people just want to come down here, be a tourist, and then just dip out, it's fine. Professional and business services. That's fine. You know, I think that's, wouldn't professional and business services be like a big chunk of like most states? Okay, sorry. Government and government enterprises. Oh, we got any three letters in Florida? Retail trade, wholesale trade, arts, entertainment, recreation, accommodation, and food services, manufacture, construction, information, transportation, warehouse, utilities, agriculture, forestry, fishing, hunting. Okay.
State's total economic output, but they have been joined by a growing number of more modern economic contributors. The state has a surprisingly large mining sector, not digging for metals or fossil fuels, but one of the world's largest reserves of phosphorus, which
Phosphate mining in Florida. Phosphate mining began in the 1880s. The region of Florida known as Bone Valley is still considered the most economically accessible phosphate deposits in the world.
is a naturally occurring chemical which is used primarily as a fertilizer. The USA
Okay.
has the third largest agricultural industry in the world, behind only China and India with their massive populations, and on a per capita basis, farming in the US is far more productive than it is almost anywhere else in the world. The phosphate dug out of the ground in Florida supplies 3/4 of all fertilizer required by farmers in the country, which
Okay, that's pretty significant. More than 75% of total domestic output of phosphates come out of Florida for the entirety of the US. Okay. So yeah, you need some phosphates. I got you, bro. I'm your phosphate plug.
beyond just being a great revenue centre for Florida, also means that the USA as a whole is a lot less dependent than most other countries on limited global supplies of this resource for their food security. Now, these are all very interesting, but it's not what has been driving the recent growth of the state, and those are more the industries causing controversy. Florida is a strange place, and part of its unique reputation
It's the land. Oh, don't tell me it's landlords. No shot. And like the owner of like Joe Schmo big ass. What is this, like 30-story building? And meanwhile, he owns this entire building, but it only takes like about a fourth of the what do you call it? A fourth of the rooms to actually be rented. Can't support the maintenance of the rest of the building. That's why each room is priced so ridiculously high. Most of these buildings are mostly empty space. Oh, don't tell me that, dude.
comes down to the economic factors that attract people into the state from all walks of life. Florida has by far the highest level of net migration within the USA, and more people are moving to the state than even outliers like Texas, which has been making headlines in recent years for
Well, yeah, there's also what is it? No state income tax. I mean, so like if you're like a little LLC or like a whatever type of business, uh, yeah, there's just no state tax or state income tax. So you can just make all the money and not have to pay a state tax. So that's nice, you know. The other states have this too, like Texas and North Carolina and whatnot. But Florida, there is some reputation that precedes Florida. Florida's the party state, the beach state. If GTA 6 is literally being made after Miami, all right, it's got the it's Florida is the clout state.
for the wave of people moving there. Florida has gained almost as many new residents since 2020 as New York has lost, and
Yeah, until the damn next hurricane comes around and everyone just like ups and leaves for like a week, let the hurricane pass, be like, oh, is my house still there? Is my property still good? Oh, okay. You know, and you gotta consider like all the snowbirds that have like that move down here for like what do you call it? They move down to Florida for the winter, and then they just fuck off back to wherever during not winter. Yeah, that's like a good chunk of people.
unlike a lot of other states that have seen big increases in their number of new residents, this phenomenon isn't really anything new for Florida. Now, of
Yep.
course, a lot of that migration is just old people moving to the state to retire, which is why despite consistently
Mhm.
high levels of internal migration into Florida,
Yep. Old people have poor internal body temperature regulation, and given the choice between a hot area and a cold area, all the old people would rather choose to be in the hot area. 100%. It could be like like 80 degrees out and be like, it's cold. I need a blanket. Ugh. Like, are you fucking kidding me? All the other normal people are fucking hot as fuck.
the population is still not growing as fast as a state like Texas because, well, older residents die just as quickly as they move in. But the population is still growing overall, which compared to other major US economies like New York, which has been stagnant for more than a decade now, and California, which is going backwards, population growth of any form is a positive sign that there is something attracting more than just retirees to the state. A lot of Florida's new residents are young, highly skilled workers, and weirdly enough,
The great Texodus to Florida? Tech companies are moving to Florida in droves thanks to this influx of talent. The state's business first mindset and an absence of state income tax. There you go. Big tech loves no state income tax. That's what we like. That's what we do. like I said, it's the Wild West out here. You can do whatever you want.
Both of these two groups are moving to the state for the same reasons. Taxes within the USA are charged on a national level as well as on a state level, which means that even within the same country, some people pay a higher rate than others because of where they live. Florida has no state income tax.
Yeah, it's good. Florida is great if you got money, but if you don't got money, it sucks.
Which means people living in other states like New York and especially California can save a lot of money by moving there. For retirees, this is a good way to get their savings to stretch a little bit further, but recently it's attracted a lot of people in some of the state's newest booming industries. Low taxes, nice beaches, and a lower overall cost of living than centres like New York City, Silicon Valley, and Los Angeles is great, but Florida wouldn't have been able to attract some of the US's most skilled and productive workers unless there were jobs for them to do there. Fortunately, the state has seen a significant increase in finance and technology companies setting up major centres of operation, if not moving their headquarters there entirely.
Oh, so that's another bullet point. There's just simply more businesses moving their shit down into Florida, big tech jobs. And now all the tech jobs, if someone can't get a tech job in like California or New York or something like that, it's like, oh, let me go down here in Florida and check this shit out. Okay.
The highest concentration of international banks in the USA is not in New York City, it's in Miami. And likewise, a lot of tech companies have set up shop in the state's biggest city.
Wait, welcome to Brickell, Miami's Wall Street South. Oh, it's in Miami, that's why.
Because of its relative ease of doing business. Of course, there have been some high-profile cases of business interests in Florida.
DeSantis Disney culture war, and Florida is not hurting business yet. Oh yeah, I forgot the damn drama between DeSantis and Disney. I literally forgot. Like, I don't like either of these people, but it's just hilarious. You know, you have to learn to just take this as like entertainment if you're just a regular person. What was it? I think it was like, I don't want to fucking just look it up like willy-nilly, but it was something along the lines of like when Disney was first made down here in Florida, they just were given they were gifted the land or something like that. And because of that, they don't have to pay taxes on it or something. But now, like, as time goes on, DeSantis was like, okay, you guys need to start paying taxes on this land. But Disney was like, no, if you make us pay taxes, we're just going to up and move. But it was something along those lines.
Going head-to-head with government power, and instances like
I'm probably completely wrong.
this can genuinely have an impact on how desirable a region is to invest, work, or set up a business in, but overall, Florida is still perceived as being much less restrictive than other major centers like California and New York.
That's the meta of U.S. business. Find you a state that is so unrestricted with what you want to do and set up shop there. That's the meta. That's where you will make money. If you try to go into a state that has a lot of restrictions, a lot of regulations, and or whatever the fuck you're doing, it's gonna be it might be okay if you're good, but like given the choice between like less restrictive Florida or literally any other state, it's like shit, you could do anything you want in Florida. Okay, just get out and go there.
A large part of the reason why average incomes in Florida have been increasing so rapidly over the last decade is not because the state itself has become more productive, it's because already productive and highly paid workers have been moving there either to work remotely or to follow the large companies that have also moved there. While this has been a huge positive trend for the state itself, it hasn't necessarily been good for the economy on a national scale,
and this is going to depend like from city to city. You know, I mean, much the same way as it is in like any other state. You know, the closer you get to like the big cities, the more the average, what is it? Like the minimum wage goes up, or like the average yearly salary goes up in big cities, and like on the surrounding like little towns and whatnot, it's like not as much.
Even the people of Florida on an individual level. Now, we've covered the issue of capital flight and brain drain many times on this channel before, but we've never really explored it happening within a country, and in many ways, this is where it can be most intense. Now, as always, we don't want to repeat too much here, but brain drain is what happens when the most skilled participants in an economic region move from one area to another for better opportunities, leaving the region they are moving from worse off overall, because it loses its best workers, taxpayers, and possibly has to face skill shortage.
That is the glory of America. You are free to do whatever you want. If you don't think you're living in a good state, I mean, a lot of the times you can't, like, people can't really move, but they kind of can, but they kind of can't because moving costs a lot of money and shit like that. And, it's easier to move if you have money versus if you don't have money, it's very hard to move. But, I mean, at least the option's there.
If a tech worker moved from Silicon Valley in California, not only would California miss out on their tax revenues, California-based companies may not be able to find the workers they need to continue their operations, and eventually they'll have to move to where they can find workers. Now, a quick side note is that a reasonable assumption would be that the rise of remote work could combat this, now that there's no need for certain workers to be physically tied to a particular location.
I don't know. Maybe this is a good question. This is a very interesting question. People can live wherever they want and work for whoever they want in whatever state. But I mean, shit, what has been the trend since that pandemic thing in 2020? During that time, everyone was allowed to work from home, and surprisingly, the U.S. It like hung on by the skin of its teeth, and surprise, surprise. Okay, you can get a lot of work done remotely. Great. But as the years go by and we move away from 2020, all the businesses want to be like, oh, we need you to come back in. We need you to physically be here. It's like, why? I am so much more productive at home doing all my work remotely. Why do you need me there? I don't want to spend 2 to 3 hours on the fucking road dealing with traffic, dealing with breakfast, trying to eat, trying to come back, traffic, what is it called? Nobody wants to deal with that shit. The logistics of getting and coming back from work. Literally no one wants to deal with that. That's like a huge indicator of whether or not you're going to stay at your job, is how close you are to your job if you are required to go there physically. And, this isn't a problem for people that work remotely.
But the unfortunate truth is, it's too soon to tell. It has the potential to make the problem worse, because at least things like access to employment opportunities added some friction to productive workers moving to whatever state, city, or country offered them the best tax deal and living conditions. Without that, there is less standing in their way, especially if the receiving economy is happy to house them, which most normally are to wealthy and productive workers.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not the most consequential example, but there's a reason why so many people with online businesses move.
Your rich hedge fund pals are going to Dubai. Oh yeah, all my hedge fund bros go to Dubai.
To Dubai, and it's not because they're a fan of the architecture. Capital flight is similar to brain drain, but they are two distinct problems. Capital flight occurs when people pull their capital out of one area and move it to another area. Mm-hmm. Capital in economics really means anything that isn't land or labour and can be used to increase economic output. So tools, infrastructure, technology, materials, and of course, regular old cash. If people move, they tend to bring their stuff with them, including their spending money, which denies capital from where they're moving from and provides it to where they're moving to. This has been a major problem for a lot of national economies in modern history, as moving internationally has become more common. Extreme examples like China and South Africa have even imposed restrictions on how much capital their people are allowed to take with them if they leave the country.
Oh, wait, from 1970 to 2017, South Africa lost over 300 billion through capital flight? Dang. I mean, 300 billion. Like, that ain't nothing. But compared to, like, the budgets of countries, this is nothing. But it ain't nothing. I can't even fathom a single $1 billion, let alone 300 of them. But you got to think about it on a country to country level. What happens and the amount of money that, transacts throughout a single year, this ain't nothing.
Country, because the exodus of wealthy citizens could otherwise have serious impacts on the economy. Now,
I mean, and shit, if this is setting a precedence of what is like happening for like the meta of the United States, for people just, getting some skills at whatever college and then just taking their shit and going to Florida, what's going to happen if like states change their laws to where there are no states with state income taxes Do you think the meta would be to like either go to like I don't know Canada or like Mexico or something like that, or shit like just fly over somewhere else to some other country that isn't as restrictive? Could that be the next meta?
Within a sovereign nation like the USA, a country which famously values its freedoms, such restrictions wouldn't be possible, and this is why, in certain ways, capital flight and brain drain can cause even more serious issues.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, it's probably important to recognise that while a lot of people are moving to Florida from places like New York, California, and Illinois, in the past, dozens of other states across the USA had the same problem with skilled workers moving into the very same states that are now losing workers to Florida. The USA itself is globally the greatest beneficiary of skilled migration and foreign capital movements, so there's a level of...
Oh yeah, we just saw that recently with was it Trump, Elon, and Vivek, and their thoughts on it. I mean, holy shit.
irony to states like Florida and Texas now causing the same problems, but that doesn't mean those problems aren't real. Now, before getting into these specifically, it's important to note that the federation system of states that makes up the USA has a lot of advantages. Having multiple levels of government adds a level of control and redundancy to the national economy as a whole, making it more difficult for one bad policy, one bad leader, or even one bad idea to cripple the economy. It's not just the USA. Other federations around the world like Canada, Germany, Switzerland, Australia, and the Netherlands have all benefited from their system of giving a level of autonomy to distributed states, but this only works well if that level of autonomy is just right. Too much oversight and, well, it just becomes another unitary country with an added layer of bureaucracy, and too little oversight can cause the states within a country to start competing with one another, not unlike a certain poor student thinking they beat the system at their part-time job. If every state within the USA starts competing with one another to attract the most talented workers and most valuable industries, then it's just going to end up as a race to the bottom on regulations, tax revenues, and incentives.
Oh, that's a really good insight. Oh, come on, guys. We got to deregulate this. We got to deregulate that to incentivize more people to come to our state and just live here. Damn. That's crazy that's what it's going to be like. Potentially, but not really.
This is already happening, with cities fighting with one another to get companies to set up new...
Amazon plans second headquarters, opening a bidding war among cities. Ooh, what cities? Amazon took the unusual step on Thursday of announcing it wants a second home outside Seattle, starting what is sure to be a fierce bidding war to lure Amazon and the thousands of high-paying jobs it will bring to town using a combination of tax breaks and other sweeteners. 2017. Oh.
New headquarters in their metro area. Short term, this could be a boost to regional economic centres, but it will almost inevitably come at the expense of overall economic stability. Businesses, policymakers, and even economists love to hate them, but there are usually reasons why certain policies exist. What's more is that competition between supposedly united states can cause something of a feedback loop, where poorer states fall further behind richer states because talented workers move to areas where they can make more money.
This is another case of the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Is that what it is? I think it is. It's another case of this picture. Oh God, sorry. Shapes. What the fuck? Where is this? Brush. Give me. Okay. It's everybody loves this old picture. The rich get richer. Everybody loves this one, right? Hey, there's all the growth over here. But most of the population is like over here. This is like what? Like 500 people. This is like everybody else. Hey, it's doing the same thing with the states.
And be surrounded by the lifestyle that wealthy people enjoy, and in doing so, they prop up the wealthy state at the expense of the poorer state. The wider that gap gets, the more pressure it will put on highly productive people from poorer states to move to the richer ones. Extreme regional inequality will need to either be addressed with cumbersome and realistically politically unpopular interventions, or eventually it can get so bad that separate states almost need to be treated as two completely different economies. Now, the USA is a long way from anything...
I mean, well, shit, like... If we haven't done it yet with California, because California is like... The economy in California is its own country. like what is the tipping point where we have to like make unique like a unique rule set for like states that just have so much GDP compared to other states.
That extreme for now, but it's something that shouldn't be completely ignored as its labour force and industrial centres become increasingly mobile. A problem this is causing right now, though, is that regular people who already live in states like Florida are finding it harder to keep up financially.
Yeah, everybody doesn't live in Miami, guys. This is what is this? I'm pretty sure this is Miami. I'm just guessing. Okay, everybody doesn't live in Miami. There are other cities besides Miami in Florida. Okay.
With the wealthy people moving in to enjoy the lower taxes, nicer weather, and comparatively cheaper living expenses. Governments at all levels should do what is best for the people they represent, and achieving economic growth and increasing incomes is a major part of delivering those outcomes. But when headline figures like this are achieved in ways that don't really improve living standards for anyone, apart from perhaps a select group of wealthy internal migrants, headline economic success doesn't always equate to genuine economic success. Okay, now it's time to put Florida on the Economics Explained leaderboard. Starting as always with size, Florida has a GDP of roughly 1.4 trillion US dollars. The small disclaimer here is
he had to whip out the tea. He had to whip out the tea.
That just like every other state within the USA, the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, the sources that we usually rely on for macroeconomic figures, do not produce data for states within a sovereign country, so the numbers here don't use exactly the same methodology. Even still, Florida's economic output is roughly equivalent to Mexico's, and if it was its own independent country, it would be the 14th largest in the world, so
Oh, you kidding me? Florida is like about the same as Mexico? In terms of GDP? Holy shit. 14th largest economy in the world? That's crazy. I didn't know that.
It gets an 8 out of 10. GDP per capita is $70,557, which is very good by global standards.
Oh, per capita
and it's
now.
only improving. But despite all of its recent success, this number is still behind the average for the USA as a whole, which has a per capita output of $82,885, although that number is pulled up by just 17 out of the 50 total states and DC. Even still, this leaderboard ranks economies internationally, where it would get another 8 out of 10. Stability and confidence is quite strong. It's a major state in the world's largest economy.
Yeah, until another hurricane comes roaring around.
That uses the world's reserve currency, and despite the occasional political maneuver that makes headlines, the state is incredibly stable, which is in large part why so many major industries have been attracted there. It gets a 9 out of 10, only losing a point because of the internal challenges the state is facing, and ongoing geographic issues like tropical storms, which can have a very tangible impact.
Tropical storms are hurricanes, bro. They're hurricanes. Yes, there's probably more tropical storms, but hurricanes.
Impact on the economy's future. Growth has been one of the strongest within the USA.
I mean, you're getting hit by hurricanes damn near every year. People are only gonna put up with that for so long.
Which has itself been one of the fastest growing major economies in the world over the past decade. The economy has roughly doubled in size in the last 10 years, giving it a 9 out of 10 in this metric, even if that growth has come at the expense of other areas of the economy. Finally, industry. Florida, even for such a large economy, has a well-diversified economic base of agriculture, mining, tourism, and now financial services and technology. This is to say nothing of industries like construction, which are fantastic employers and have been booming thanks to new people moving into the state. Overall, the economy gets an 8 out of 10, again, only losing 2 points because a lot of these industries...
Oh, damn, it's starting to sound like an IGN game review.
...still rely on the USA as a whole to feed them, rather than creating independent homegrown industrial bases. Overall, that gives the economy of Florida an 8.4 out of 10, which is exactly the same as the state of Texas, which despite having many of the same demographic characteristics
Economics Explained leaderboard
as Florida, arrived at this particular score in a different and arguably more sustainable way. You should be able to click to that video on your screen now. Thanks for watching, mate. Bye.
Dang, dude. I had no idea Florida was that poppin'. Like, I knew New York was massive, California is massive, Texas is massive. But I had no idea that Florida was like that high up there. Holy shit. That is news. That is news to me. But shit. Yeah, overall, cool, very cool video. I liked it a lot. Very interesting. We will only, get to see what happens in the future. Who knows if it's good or bad or which way it'll go, but I mean, at least the next 4 years will be like some of the most entertaining I will up until like I've been on this earth. But yeah, keep up the good work, man. Awesome. Uh, I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.